Hello, I'm Tara Casey, a professor of legal practice here at the University of Richmond School of Law, and today we are going to discuss all the new laws going into effect in Virginia. This update comes following the General Assembly session of 2021. Or was it the session of 2020? I'm not entirely kidding. The pandemic shutdowns began soon after the conclusion of the 2020 General Assembly session, but the General Assembly was called back into special session, albeit virtually, to attend to the emergency issues caused by COVID-19. Further, with our nation's reckoning with systemic racism following the murder of George Floyd, many legislators in the General Assembly sought to use the special sessions to address reforms in our criminal legal system. What resulted is our part-time legislature seemingly to be in session full-time until Sine Die was called this past March. But wait, there's more. The Virginia General Assembly will go into another special session on August 2nd, during which legislators will figure out how to spend $4.3 billion in federal aid Virginia has received under the American Rescue Plan Act. Since March 2020, the operations of the legislature fundamentally changed as well as its schedule. The House of Delegates met remotely during this time period, while the Senate took up residency at the Science Museum of Virginia. All committee hearings and public comments were handled remotely as well, a change that many advocates hope will remain in some form in the future, as individuals no longer had to travel to Richmond in order to weigh in on proposed legislation. Now, July 1st is the typical date that new laws go into effect in Virginia that were passed by the General Assembly, but 2020, 2021, they have been anything but typical. Nevertheless, now is a good time to review some of the highlights from the approximately 600 new laws that have gone into effect. Yep, you heard that right, 600. First, the endings. The end to the death penalty in Virginia. Virginia became the 23rd state in the nation and the first state in the South to abolish the death penalty. Under this law, any person who received or is facing a death sentence will have their sentence commuted to life in prison without parole. In the 400 years during which the death penalty existed in Virginia, more than 1,400 individuals have been executed. The federal death penalty still exists in our country, so this law does not affect federal sentences issued in Virginia. Virginia also became the first southern state and the 13th state in the country to ban the LGBTQ+ panic defense that was available to defendants charged with homicide, voluntary manslaughter, assault, and/or bodily woundings. Previously, defendants could use the LGBTQ+ panic defense in court to excuse this violence as acceptable because someone's LGBTQ+ identity, often the victim's, was perceived as threatening. The enactment of this ban could not have been more timely with the tragic killing of Jerry Smith in Blacksburg this past June. Also ending July 1st, state eviction protections that were put into place during the pandemic. Landlords are now able to evict tenants for unpaid rent. Tenants who have lost income at any point during the pandemic may seek a 60-day delay of their eviction, which hopefully will provide the time needed to become current on their rent or seek new housing. However, this option is only available until September 28th. Other noteworthy endings include the ending of law enforcement's use of facial recognition technology, the ending of the rebuttable presumption of detention prior to trial, the ending of a public school's ability to sue a family to collect outstanding lunch debt, and the ending of taking home a wild box turtle to keep as a pet. But one ending may be very important to gender reveal party planners everywhere. Beginning July 1st, any person who intentionally releases a non-biodegradable balloon into the air faces a civil penalty of $25 per balloon. So, think before you pink. Now for the beginnings. As GOP-controlled state legislators across the country put forward bills to curtail voting access, Virginia's General Assembly passed legislation to make voting more accessible. For absentee voters, prepaid postage will now be provided for returning ballots. Localities are authorized to set up drop-off locations for absentee ballots, and absentee ballots will now be processed before Election Day, giving voters the ability to cure any errors to ensure that their vote is counted. Also a beginning in Virginia, the legalization of marijuana. Sort of. It will no longer be a crime for individuals 21 years or older to possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana. However, consuming marijuana in public or giving it to others in public is still illegal. Also, the retail sale of marijuana will remain illegal until 2024. So if you can't buy it, how you gonna get it? Well, the phrase green thumb now has a whole new meaning. Individuals can grow up to 4 plants per household as long as they aren't visible from a public street. Time and trials will tell how clear or foggy this law will be interpreted. There is also a new beginning for tenants' aid and homeowners' rights in Virginia. The pay or quit notice timeframe that has been expanded from 5 to 14 days, providing renters more time to catch up on rent. And also, landlords with 5 or more rental units must allow a tenant to enter into a repayment agreement to pay off the balance owed. Previous Virginia law provides tenants with a right of redemption, meaning the ability to pay everything owed to avoid an eviction, but they were only able to use that right once a year. Now, most tenants may be able to exercise that right any number of times, including up to 48 hours before the scheduled eviction by the sheriff. Because the U.S. Census Bureau estimates that 34.6% of Virginians are at risk of eviction or foreclosure in the next 2 months, plan to see more tenant homeowner protections proposed when the General Assembly reconvenes in August. And here's something new everyone can smile about. Virginia has expanded Medicaid benefits to include dental care for adults. Many advocates claim this will be a game changer, not just for health reasons, but for economic ones as well, increasing job opportunities for those in the program. There's an old saying in Virginia that we love elections so much we have them every year. In November, all 3 statewide offices will be up, as well as the entire House of Delegates. Plus, the pre-filing for consideration of new bills is already scheduled for November 15th. So just as one session ends, we're getting ready for another. In the meantime, support your local journalists to stay on top of Virginia General Assembly happenings, as well as the nonprofit, the Virginia Public Access Project. Until we speak again, we are adjourned. Sine Die.